So here's the situation with this thing. This is a 2000 740i and E38. And what's happened is the stereo stopped working. The navigation went out. And because the navigation went out, all I can do is turn the radio on for about 2 minutes, and then it turns off, and then you have to turn it back on and on and off. So every 2 minutes you're forced to turn it on. And there are replacement head units for this thing. This whole panel would come out, but they're $350, something like that. And then there's an adapter cable that you have to use, because the truth is, this is not a head unit. This is a controller, and it's a controller for everything that's in the trunk: the amplifier, the CD changer, the navigation unit, the radio and the antennas, and all the speaker connections are all in the trunk. This is a digital control unit, and all it really has is a cassette recorder up here, which doesn't work because the nav unit went out. And I can try to buy another nav unit, but that's $100, and it might not work. It might work because of the year of the car, the model number of the car, and also the other problem is now you're buying a piece of gear that's also 20 years old. And so I have an idea, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace this head unit or this controller with something that I already have in my pocket at all times, and that's my iPhone. That's what this thing is up here, if you're wondering what the hell is that. That's my iPhone mount. I'm going to put an amplifier in the trunk of the car, and I'm going to Bluetooth everything. And now, instead of buying a $350 head unit that may or may not fit with a $100 adapter cable unit to try to get these buttons here to work, this is just volume up, volume down. This is radio select, next channel up, next channel down. I'll be driving like this, and I'll go doot, 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 and I'll have everything here. And let's see if I can make this work. So this is the amplifier that I bought. It's an N-Rock Marine EKMB 500 ABT. These are about $60 on the interweb. And it's a Bluetooth amp, supposedly waterproof, but I'm not going to test that. But this is Bluetooth, and so I shouldn't have to hook any kind of cable up to it from my iPhone into this. I should be able to put this in the trunk, hopefully find the speaker connectors in my car here, power here, and then Bluetooth right to this. Your amplifier sits in your car like this, and there are 4 8mm bolts to take out. And actually, you don't have to take out the 2 bottom ones completely. You just have to loosen them because they're slots, and then that allows you to just pull the whole thing out. So I did pull it out. I took the 3 connectors off, and I started to measure things. What did I do? I ended up cutting this after I measured many things on it. This is probably not going to be the same as on your car. I went to the book. Let's go to the book. I went to this, and this hasn't been terribly helpful. The color coding, which is in German, is fine. I've got the color code figured out here, but what's happened is things don't quite line up. The colors are not the same. So here's what I did. All of the wires on this main connector that I've cut, drastic step, but you know, the whole system didn't work anyway, are now here. Here is my amplifier, and from left to right there's power, this green and red. Here's ground, the big brown connector. This white was a nice discovery. This white is I don't really know how it works with the original amplifier, but I do know that when you turn the key, 12 volts is turned on to that, and that 12 volts now turns on the remote. It actually starts the amplifier. So that worked out well. You may have to take your multimeter and check all of that. Now the rest of these wires are in pairs. You'll see they're twisted together, and they have various color codes, but it turns out, so far in my examination, that these twisted pairs are different speakers in your car. Now, unfortunately, they're not the only ones. There are two more connectors here. There's this one, and there's this one, and I suspect there are tweeter speakers that are in here. And I haven't gotten to that point yet, but what I did do is I took all the twisted pairs and I measured them with an ohm meter. Here I've connected up the twisted pair that's brown and yellow, and I use my ohm meter. It's about 6 ohms, and I measured other wires, and this is a, you know, probably an 8 ohm speaker that's reading 6.3 for some reason that I'm not terribly aware of. But anyway, I went through all these twisted pairs and I measured to make sure that there was about 6-7 ohms across each pair, which told me that yes, it was a speaker, that I wasn't tapping into something strange. And then after doing that, you see I have to approach this very slowly. What I did was, let's disconnect this. I'll disconnect that, and this is all with power off to the car. Once again, I have no battery connection on the car. I have turned that off. Then what I did was I went to my iPhone, Rocky Mountain Way, Joe Walsh. I plugged in a cable. I connected to it. It's popped off now. And then I took these two wires and I went to each individual pair one by one. In fact, let me hook that up. Show you what I did. So once again, I'm playing. Let me turn this off. I'm playing from my iPhone just to get an audio signal. It's a very weak signal. Playing it through this cable. That's an RCA connector, and I've connected my alligator leads to each pair. Then I go in the car and I listen. And that enables me to know more about how to hook this thing up. So here's what I was able to do. Pull this open. I hooked the amp up, the N-Rock, and this is how I connected it. You can see power, 12 volts, chassis ground negative, the remote, and then each of these speaker wires, these twisted pairs, here's a twisted pair, here's a twisted pair, they were hooked up to the speaker wires. And I could draw this up for you and make a pinout, but I don't think these wires are going to match your car. They don't match the book, so I think you're going to have to do what I did in terms of playing music through each twisted pair and figuring out where they go. Then I simply zip tied the unit in. Unfortunately, the controls are down here, but all you really have to do is set your initial volume controls left and right, or rather, I think this is now front volume and rear volume. And then this turns on, and lo and behold, this works. So there's the Bluetooth. Initially I was concerned that the Bluetooth wouldn't work because the amplifier is in the trunk. The trunk is made of metal. Bluetooth, it wouldn't make it through, but all I generally have to do is touch this and then it connects. Well, this is a piece of music I have on iTunes, and it plays and it works great. It's on the dashboard of my car. I can reach over and touch what I need to touch. It's only 6 inches from the steering wheel. That's it. It did work, and I'm happy with this because I now have a modern amplifier, not a 20-year-old amplifier, and I have my modern stereo system, which is my iPhone, installed in my car. And if I get a new phone, it should work. I don't have to worry about upgrading the whole car when I change phones. So that's it.